Yeah.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
yeah, hi everyone. Gwen and Andy. Um, oh, mute myself so I don't hear my echo coming back from YouTube. Yeah, so this is the first of hopefully many skill shares that we're gonna do, and I'm excited to actually finally be doing it. Um, so yeah, so today, so my name is Ramsey Nasser. With me are Andy Wallace and Gwen Pasquarello. We are the Emma Technology Cooperative. We do a bunch of. Someone today asked me if we just do games. We do a bunch of different kinds of software consulting, mostly in and around games and interactive software. We also do web stuff and a lot of some compiler stuff. Weirdly. Um, but we like write interesting software for interesting people. And the idea behind the Skillshare, maybe just to set it up a little bit, is that we have a wonderful like back channel where we all kind of like share notes and support each other in the work that we do. And we're just trying to be a little bit more structured about it, and also stream it to the world in the hopes that it'll be helpful for other people. So that's what this is. Um, I'm going to talk about a particular solution to a very specific problem that I'm just landed for a client that I'm really excited about. And I have a couple of videos to show. It's kind of a hard thing to demo live. So we'll look at a couple of videos and then we'll walk through some code. And hopefully we'll all have thoughts about JSON and QR codes by the end of it. And obviously, Andy, Gwen, if there's anything at any point, stop me and just ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like I said, we are Emma. We did not have a high resolution logo until a few nights ago, but now we have a high resolution version of our very complicated. So I want to talk about something that I put in place for what brings you So what brings you in, and this is a problem that's been on my mind for about a year, and a solution that's been on my mind for about a year, and it just landed, and I'm super excited about it. So I don't think either one of you have actually seen the performance of what brings you in. I've seen one like as an audience member, and like the rest just like as crew. It's this really beautiful hybrid in-person online interactive experience. The main artist behind it is her name is Leslie Ting. She's based in Canada, and this is an amazing like team of people. This is a shot from an in-person run of the show. That's like one of my favorite like pieces of documentation from it. Um, so it's a lot of things. There's pre-recorded audio. There's like live audio narration. The part that I'm responsible for is on people's mobile phones. In addition to the streaming audio, there are these different interactive moments. So as part of the run of the show, Leslie will like narrate you through these different like audio experiences, and then trigger these like these interactions that are on your phone. They're not games; they're just these very light, very thoughtful, sort of mindful interactions. But so I built all of this. This is all like 3JS and my coroutine stack. Um, this is what we call it backstage to kind of use like theater lingo, but there's basically a control panel, a password protected control panel that the crew has access to. And I know if the buttons are legible, but there's basically a separate button for each interactive moment in the show. And the idea being that as the crew is, as Leslie's narrating and the crew is sort of running the show, they have this panel and they can hit these buttons, and these buttons move every connected audience member into the given interaction, right? So you hit drawing lines, everyone goes into the drawing lines interaction. You hit sand play, everyone goes into the sand play interaction. So this is the architecture and a timing diagram that sort of describes the problem that we've had. So the way to read this architecture on the left is these circles or these ovals, I guess, are clients. So these are people using the software or the system via a web browser. So the crew is using the backstage panel, which is all web stuff. That's, as far as the system is concerned, that's a web browser. That's a client. And the audience, of course, is on mobile phones. They're also on clients. So the crew is actually like sending out two streams of data. There's the live audio feed, which is going in the original version of the show. We were running using an old technology from the 90s, actually called IceCast, that would do like internet radio in the early 2000s. I think Winamp was like involved in its like the specification of the protocol, just to situate it in time, like where this tech comes from. Yeah, there aren't that many like just IceCast services out there, but we've been using something called RadioMass that's been pretty good. So that's what the media server here is. It's sort of the audio stream goes out to this like RadioMass media server, and then it eventually comes down to the audience as an audio stream. Parallel to that, every time the crew hits a button to trigger an interaction, it goes down this other path that I've labeled control. So this goes through a server that I wrote over WebSockets. So we have a control stream, and then we have a media stream. And the problem in this like cute network diagram with little stick figures reveals they're kind of operating in two different time domains. WebSockets are effectively instantaneous, right? They sort of go, they're like, the delay is measured in milliseconds because it's a very small amount of data that you're just moving over the internet. And it's being received. It's just a couple of bytes, right? It's super, super fast. But the audio, because it's like high quality audio, it has to be buffered. And there's going to be some variable amount of delay to ensure that people are getting like a stutter-free, smooth audio experience. So anyone who's done like Twitch streaming or whatever will have experienced this, but there's about a 10, 15 second delay. And that delay is going to be different for every person. It's going to vary at different times in the stream, depending on networking conditions. So we have these two feeds that really should be synchronized, right? Like when the crew is narrating a particular interaction and like moving from one interaction to the other, their audio narration and the movement from like interaction to interaction is expected. I mean, it was synchronized when they did it, on their end, but when it reaches the audience, because the audio is buffered and the control is not, you get this delay, right? And this is what that looks like. I like melted my computer running 2 instances of OBS to try and capture this. So I hope it comes through. So what we're seeing here on the right is the crew experience. This is the backstage experience. And then on the left is an audience experience. So this is someone like logged into the show. We should hear, if like the audio comes out correctly, you'll hear me say everything twice. The first time you hear it, that'll be me in the microphone. And the second time you hear it, that'll be me coming out of the audience web browser instance. So the second audio will be like simulating what like the audience experience would be like. So let's see what that looks like. Let me know if you hear the sound coming through too.
I do not hear sound.
I can pantomime then the sound on top of that. So the interaction moves immediately, but we haven't heard the sound yet. I'm going to thank you in 3, 2, 1, click. So the audience just heard the sound.
Right.
Going to sand play in 3, 2, 1. Then I hit sand play. Interaction goes immediately. Audience still hasn't heard the sound. Going to sand play in 3, 2, 1. So there's like a 15-second delay there, right? So what the crew has done over the last year is they've just, they're all performance people, so they've sort of worked around it, where they've like artificially delayed clicking the button by like 15 seconds, and there's like they have a whole Rube Goldberg machine basically to like take care of it, and it's not great. So that's the show, and that's the problem. This is the solution that's been on my mind for about a year, and it's like it's just like wacky enough that it has me like very excited. But it uses like conventional tech enough that it's like actually I think it's robust. So the idea now is instead of we having these two parallel streams, one of audio and one of like control, we the crew is still producing an audio stream and a control stream, and the control stream is still going to the socket server. But now the only thing listening to the socket server for WebSocket control is a new client rendering a QR code. And that QR code image and the audio are being merged in OBS into a single video feed. And that video feed is going to a media server, and the audience is receiving a single feed of an image and audio muxed together.
Yeah. And that does like all the synchronization work for you. And decades of computer science have gone into synchronizing the audio and video.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So that they like there's still a delay, right? And in some ways the show is like more annoying to work with now. But because everything is delayed. But like as far as the audience is concerned, they're getting a totally synchronized experience, right? Yeah, so you'll get a media delay, but there's no world in which the like video and the audio are going to become detached, and you'll start hearing one before things have gone super wrong if that starts happening.
So
yeah.
Maybe you're going to explain this, but what does the QR like? What's looking for the QR code to like then trigger the experience?
I'm not just going to explain it. I have a cool acronym for it too.
Ooh, all right. Then I'm going to let you do your thing. I thought maybe I just missed something.
No. Yeah, it's a branded piece of technology.
Proprietary.
Yeah.
Pending.
That's definitely our vibe at Emo. Yeah. So that's the idea, right? The idea was like, I mean, the basic idea is like, okay, well, we need to move these two things into the same stream. We can't make the audio faster, so we need to like stick the control messages into the audio somehow. A QR code video was the sort of the third thing that I explored. I also looked into DTMF, which is the touch tone like phone sounds, because those actually encode information. That's like the way that they sound, the frequency combinations actually record encode numbers.
Yeah, they're like trivially, like the whole point is that it's like two waves that are like trivially differentiable, but it like can't be mistaken for another tone.
Yeah, and they have to be differentiable by like non-computers.
By like analog circuits, basically.
Purely analog circuits. Yeah, totally. So there are actually great YouTube videos on this. You can a lot of cable like channels will use DTMF tones to trigger like ad breaks and ad transitions. So they'll basically stream. The way they do it is they'll have like a video stream and then 3 audio streams, like 2 for stereo and then 1 just for DTMF. But you can like hack your cable box to like actually hear the DTMF tones. So there's like all these YouTube videos of like, and we'll hear more after the break. Boop, 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 boop. And then sort of an ad pops up. We didn't end up doing that because doing more than 2 audio streams, like doing something more than stereo gets like tricky. And that's not how like most media stacks are set up. So I had a thought of like doing a thing where we like lower the volume and then we play a DTMF and then we raise the volume, but like that's just like too much of a Rube Goldberg machine. So the QR code is basically our like side channel. No one ever sees it, right? It's just for the tech, but it's playing the role of like the third audio feed basically on a cable box. So we stream using OBS. We have a really weird OBS. The show has a really kind of bizarre OBS setup. So we just render whatever is being shown in that browser at that URL in this box, and then that's the whole video feed. So this is what hitting buttons in Backstage looks like. So this is the QR code image. You see it updates instantaneously. Like as soon as I hit, we get this like the QR code updates. What's being encoded is I took whatever JSON was being pushed over WebSockets. I'm just sticking it in the QR code now. I'm just stringifying it and sticking the QR code. Actually, if you pause this video and try and scan this image, you'll see what the QR code is. It's like totally valid text. But yeah, so that's the first bit of like tech is the now the buttons are controlling this QR code image that updates instantaneously. And this is like the same thing we saw before, but now using the new QR tech just to show how synchronized it is. And again, I'll pantomime the audio feed because I don't think it's coming through. So click here. Click. Now you see the audience screen didn't update yet. It's still hanging out. Thank you. And now
I get sound.
in 3, 2, 1, and then I click. And again, the audience doesn't update. It sort of takes a second. Going to say and play in 3, 2, 1, click. You can even see the little icon, the little audio icon here pop up at the right time.
Yeah, totally.
So again, it feels weird to look at because like when I'm debugging it, I kind of just want the buttons to work immediately. But from an audience perspective, it's actually a synchronized experience for the first time. To answer your question, Andy, of like, okay, so you have this QR code, you're pushing out videos. Like, wait, what are you doing on the receiving end? We're basically using a QR video stream as a carrier technology for JSON. So we're moving JSON over a QR code feed, which is, I couldn't resist the branding opportunity to call this the Joker technique.
Really nice animation on that too.
Yeah, you put a lot of work into
Yeah,
that.
this is a good reveal.
This is my my slide framework that runs coroutines for each slide and arbitrarily powerful.
This video is becoming more and more Ramsified. It's what it's becoming.
Like, how am I going to work coroutines into this one? Oh, I'm definitely going to do a coroutine Skillshare at some point.
Oh, I'm so excited for coroutine Skillshare.
Yeah.
Unavoidable.
No, generators. I didn't even know they existed.
Yeah. Now I've forgotten that anything else exists. So yeah, now I want to do like a tour. Basically, just I want to look at the code that happens basically from a button press in Backstage through the multiple servers and into an audience, like what runs on someone's browser and how the information gets decoded. And then that's about all I have to share. But how's that so far? Is that kind of
Yeah, I'm with it.
Yeah, it's cool. I was hearing bits and pieces of this, and frankly, I had no idea how QR codes factored into any of this. And now I'm like, oh, I get it. Wild. I didn't want to spoil myself by asking questions.
Yeah. But like, you want to go into the blank, right, for the big reveal.
Want to get Joker-fied.
Now Joker Man, the font would have been that's got to be the official font of the Joker technique. All right, so let's start online. 52. So this is the code behind the Backstage. So we're starting basically at the backend are written in Vue. Backstage, these buttons are actually pulled. So we have this little, objects with like labels and buttons, or IDs and button labels, and we build these. We build all the buttons out of that list. When you click on a button, we call this set state method. And it takes as input the interaction, basically the ID of the interaction that we want to move into. State is kind of like a loose generic word here. It like should have been like set interaction or something, but like this is the state of the show that we're going to move into. Set state. So this hasn't changed for this update. Hitting a button in Backstage still triggers a. Oh no, we're having audio issues.
I think I fixed them.
All good.
Been doing
No
it in
worries.
the background.
So set state. Yeah. So this hasn't changed from the original implementation. That still triggers this socket emit. So we use socket IO to handle our WebSockets. It builds a JSON object basically out of the state that you want to move into. This will just be a string, and we emit set state to the server. On the server, that gets picked up in this socket on set state handler. The server is sort of designed to be simple. The server doesn't do any thinking. It just sort of broadcasts messages that it gets for the most part. So the server turns around and re-emits set state. So it broadcasts set state out. So we hit a button and a message goes up to the server that gets broadcast out. That broadcast that's triggered by line 79, that's what used to be received by all the audience members. And then they would immediately react and sort of advance their state. That's been removed. And now that's only picked up by a new endpoint. This is the QR code rendering endpoint. It has its own socket on set state. So this is the QR code rendering page when it receives a set state message. It updates its own local notion of state, like where the show is at. That view is reactive, so it's set up so when you change a value, everything that depends on that value kind of updates automatically. So when we change show state, which is this value, the system knows that this payload computed property depends on show, this show object has the interaction state. It also has like this lounge music Boolean. There used to be like a lounge music system that we're actually pulling out of the show. But the idea is we can encode like as much state as we want in the show, capture it all in that object. That gets stringified. The payload computed property is just a stringified version of like whatever the current state of the show is. We have a watcher. This is another Vue.js thing. That says, whenever payload changes, run this code. So we run refresh QR code. And what refresh QR code does is it reaches into this QR code library. I just picked the first one off of NPM. We feed it the payload, which is the JSON that we want to turn into a QR code, and into this toData URL method. And that gives us back in this callback a gigantic string, which is a data URL encoding the QR code image.
Why a data URL rather than just like straight text or whatever?
For the QR code?
Yeah.
I honestly, it's sort of the first thing I tried with this library. Yeah, so it could have given me a canvas. I feel like any one of these could have worked, right?
Yeah, totally. But that's the one that worked. Yeah.
Yeah, and like having a giant like URL string is like nice because I can set that to again a reactive view property, and then the actual template is just that.
Right.
It's just an image.
Oh, right, because you have to render that. So yeah, you don't want to like hit the file system.
No.
Right. Yeah. No. So it actually, you're totally right. A data URL is completely logical.
A canvas, I think I did think
a
about
canvas
that.
could work. Or
And
I
I'd
guess
like
like SVG or something if it had that. But
swap elements out. Yeah. The other thing too, like one of my main takeaways that about sort of this approach is like leaning on something like QR codes. It's like there's such an abundance. It's so well supported. And and like if not this library, some other library, you know, it all would have kind of worked. But we're not really out in the wilderness. It's like, yeah, no, the QR code tech exists.
Yeah.
SVGs actually would have been like probably like a library that did that would probably be better in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then this renders. So at this point, we've hit the button, we've gone through the socket server, and we've updated that image. So that image will be piped into OBS. We're actually running our own video server using Owncast.
Right.
So we used to run through RadioMast to do our audio streaming. I actually tried to run all of our video stuff through YouTube because, like, you know, the same way that we're streaming right now, YouTube supports video streaming. YouTube will very much not let you just grab the frames out of one of their streamed videos. They've like thought of that.
Yeah, they don't like that. They don't appreciate that.
They're like, no, use our embed so we can show ads. That's
iframes. Yeah.
That's what we're here for. Yeah. Which is like, sure, fair enough. But Owncast was, I honestly don't have anything to say about setting. It just worked like immediately. Like
Owncast seems really great. I've seen, I think I've streamed like live code sets on an Owncast instance run by Siberia. So.
Oh, yeah. I totally only know about it because of like you sort of turning me onto it. So
yeah, and I only hear about it from them, and it's like, yeah, they run like a Ask a Punk for the stream key, basically. Like that's kind of how it works. It's great. It's very good.
It's really good. Oh my god.
Yeah,
we have livecode.tv, so
soon, very soon, we'll do a Skillshare on setting up. Owncast.
Yeah, that'll be a 3-minute, like
in and out.
I took a deep breath. I'm like, all right, I'm standing up a video server. Here goes my day. And I was done in 15 minutes. I'm like, oh, it just fucking works.
Just goes.
Bless them. So yeah, again, like really not much to say about it. It kind of behaves like YouTube for the most part in that it has a URL that you stream to. It has a stream key. I did a few things where we're on DigitalOcean, and I use like DigitalOcean has a S3 like storage system to like store the actual like video file, so it's like actually quite fast. But like, again, nothing too onerous. And then so once that's made its way into OBS and that goes up into Owncast, that gets streamed down in the actual like the show, the audience facing portion of the show. We have a stream URL, which let me see if I could pull it up because it's kind of so this is what the stream URL looks like. I don't think this is sensitive information. No, it's not.
I was about to hit the blackout button, Ramsey.
No, it's all no sensitive information.
Yeah, let's see those environment variables.
Yeah. I the order in which I had that sequence of thoughts was not the order I should have thought of it in, but I want to show that it's this M3U8 file.
Right. Yeah. It's an MP3 playlist. Yeah.
So for anyone who's done, I know this continues to surprise me, but like video streaming, the way it like actually works under the hood is there's a playlist file that you point your like video player at. And that playlist file has a list of videos to play, all of which are 3 seconds long.
Yep.
And that's the stream.
Yep.
And it's just constantly being appended to, and the playlist file is constantly being updated.
And the size of those videos is your buffer length. Like that's really it. Like
I had no idea. That's wild.
That's that's HLS. That's definitely not all the streaming, but that is one of the more common ones because it's like, that's by far the easiest way to implement streaming. If you have stateless HTTP, right? Like it was invented in like, I think the aughts or so. It was Apple, I think, weirdly.
Yeah, it is Apple, yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
So it's good to know that all like video broadcast is just wild systems that shouldn't work.
Cobbled together.
It didn't end with cathode ray tubes.
No, it's just it's a modern version of like that genre of crazy hack.
The level of like hackery that NDOC has, and it has really crazy hackery. Like it's right up there with it.
It's wild. But that also means from a server perspective, like I'm really nervous. Like, okay, we're running our own media server. I want to make sure that that has like good performance. But it's not, the problem is not more exotic than serving static files. Like that's literally all you're doing, right? So if you have a way of serving static files fast, you have a way of streaming video fast, right?
That's the other really like clever thing with HLS streaming is it's like, yeah, static files. Can you serve a file? Yes.
Then you're good, right? That's kind of the whole, that's the long and short of it.
Yeah. And the like OwnCap's trick of like, we'll just dump them into an S3 bucket and call it a day. Like,
Yeah. So that's what that URL is. We'll look inside this Joker object in a second. But the way you use it is, you create a new Joker instance. You call start. So this starts the video stream. Importantly, this is also how you'll hear the audio, because we just kind of create a video element in the background, and you have to call start to like play the element to hear the audio. But we never attach the video element to the DOM, so you never actually see it. And the Joker object is my first time implementing a JavaScript event emitter, which is like kind of jankier than I thought it would be. It's a little bit of disappointing API.
Seems like the one thing that they would have really down.
I think it's just so old. It's like day one JavaScript stuff.
Oh no,
There's
older
like,
than I am.
Yeah. It was like a what's his name? The original author. Yeah, it was just like there from the very beginning. So there's like 8 different ways to create your own custom events, and they're all kind of deprecated and they all kind of suck. So I ended up using the one that is not deprecated, and it's just like we'll look at the implementation on the inside. It's just a little gross. You can only include data in a field called detail, which is why that's there. But basically, you can actually see our old socket code here. This Joker add event listener message. This is taking the place of what would have been socket on. Literally, I think this is, if I look in my Git, this is the. What used to be, when I get a socket message, I'm going to do store update state. And then that sets off the chain reaction of like actually updating the show, which is out of the scope of this talk. Instead of that, what I'm saying is, when I get a message out of the QR code, I'm actually going to do the same thing, right? So to look inside this guy. So first of all, HLS is not, I love browser, like building stuff in the browser, and you can sort of do anything in a browser except when you can't. HLS support, unsurprisingly, is inconsistent, and it's the only place where Safari actually has native support for it and no one else does. Because
it's an Apple spec.
It's an Apple spec, yeah. Yeah, it's like a soft clock is right twice a day. So I actually have to use a library called HLS.js, and it sort of solves everything. But this does not work just sort of out of the box. So the actual Joker object is this class that I export. We create a video element. We can't just set the source to be the streaming URL. We have to call this load HLS video function. And that does the logic of figuring out if it's an Apple, basically, device, or if it reports that it can play the HLS, we do just set the source directly. Otherwise, we use the library. It all works, right? But yeah, it does need library support. So at this point, we have an HTML video element with a video streaming in the QR code and the audio. We never attach it to the DOM, so it's never visible, but it is audible. When you call start, we play the video element so that the audio is now, that people can now hear the audio, and we should be getting QR code frames. And then we set an interval. And that interval, there's the default of 100 milliseconds is how I have it set. Every 100 milliseconds, we use another QR code library to scan the image out of the video element. I was a little worried that I'd have to pull frames myself out of the video element and hand them off to a QR code library. but all the QR code libraries are designed to work with webcams. So they're entirely designed for like video streams, which is like, yes, this is part and parcel, right, of this technology. It's asynchronous. We wait for it. When we get the result back, we unpack it. The result will be a string because we stringified the JSON. We do a little bit of bookkeeping to see if, because we're checking every 100 milliseconds, we only, if the value has changed, do we dispatch the event. So, because, for most of the frames, the QR code is going to be exactly the same. And we don't want to just be spamming off the event. We only want to fire the event when it changes. So we do a little bit of bookkeeping for that. This is the like sort of janky, this is the correct way to do custom events. You have to use an event called custom event. And you could give it any message or like any description in here, but you have to stick your values in a thing called detail. If there's another way to do it, I haven't seen it. I'd be very happy to be corrected or proven wrong. But yeah, I was expecting, I'm like, oh, I subclass event and do some stuff. It's like, no, none of that really works.
Yeah, just when I thought Unity events couldn't get worse.
Oh my God.
They got worse. It's JavaScript. Who would've guessed?
The mid-90s were worse somehow.
Somehow.
And other than that, the rest of the show is unchanged.
Yeah.
And that's how we sync the show control and the audio.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's sick.
So I was wondering, this sounds really annoying to test with because it's like very useful for the audience. So like, do you have the old system in there? Like, what's your like debug setup?
I started writing that this morning. I basically want to do something like, if store.debug.sockets, then yeah, bring the old shit back. Because all that tech is still there. Like we're still broadcasting over the socket channel. We're just ignoring it. And then I want to be able to turn this on with URL. Like I want to be able to add something to the URL that turns the sockets on and like take, and then take it away to turn the sockets off. And then this will be that. But as of right now, no, I've not had a debugging thing. And you're completely right that the moment I landed it, my first visceral reaction is like, I broke it. It's like no, this is the design. It's actually supposed to be slower.
I was trying to add a 15-second delay. It's what you paid me for, right?
Yeah, it was too fast.
A lot of money on that 15-second delay.
And then I was also just like, this is sort of a non-issue, but since you're baking everything into a QR code, are you now like more cognizant of how long your like variable names are in your JSON?
Yeah, that makes a difference.
Oh yeah, you're not even because you're just taking the straight JSON. You're not even gzipping it or anything.
I thought about compressing. I mean, the sort of next steps are if it gets really big. Yeah, you would gzip it and B65 or B65 encode it. But yeah, there is a limit to what you can do with this tech, right? So, and we're actually face it. So the one bit of dysynchrony that we will probably always have, and the crew is okay with it, is we do synchronize mouse positions. So like when you're in a show and there's like 100 other people in the show, you see where everyone's like mouse cursor is, and that's like part of the beauty of the show is we're all sort of anonymously in this thing together. Those go over WebSockets because you're not putting hundreds of XY coordinates into QR codes, right? Like that's just not that's not what we're doing.
QR code every frame.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, why is our bandwidth bill like thousands of dollars?
Why is my mouse on a 15-second delay?
Yeah, why is this video? Also, why does this video have such a blurry QR code in it? That is not. They don't like sort of rapidly changing bitwise graphics. The video codecs.
Yeah, motion blur QR code. But the side effect of that is if you and I are in the show and you have a shorter delay than me for whatever reason, and you get into an interactive moment before I do, you start moving your mouse, I will start moving. I'll see your mouse moving before I get into the interactive moment. And if this was,
you just won't see the context, like why you're moving it there.
Yeah. The difference will be, it'll be, I think in the worst case, about half the total delay. Like we've never seen a delay shorter than 7 seconds. So, and if this was a video game where like that like mattered in a sort of semantic way, it would like actually break the experience for people. Yeah, I would approach the whole thing differently. But that's a tolerable amount of like dysynchrony.
Yeah.
Compared to people like hearing and seeing things like in a way that's detached.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. So
yeah,
that's the trick. That's the Joker
that's
maneuver.
the Joker technique.
Anyways, can we see that animation again?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
do, you
wait a
want
moment.
do you want to see the code behind the animation? Awesome. I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the big reveal.
Amazing.
This is the so this is a framework I built for
So you took it.
Causal Islands. Yeah, so this is the source code to the talk. It's just HTML. Every element is a slide with like a bunch of styling. So these are my screenshots on the grid. You can also add a script element. And it's running my coroutine stack in the background. Normally in my coroutines, yield always means wait one tick of the schedule. We usually tick once per frame if it's a video game. So yield usually means wait one frame. But this system ticks when you press the right arrow key.
Oh yeah.
So the way to read
concept of time.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're totally, because like I don't want a slideshow that's like run away from me. I always want to be in control of it, right?
I love the idea of a runaway slideshow.
I mean, you could
like a freight train.
just advance on request animation frame.
Perfect.
So the way I do it is so I have this is the J, and then the SON space, and then the ver space, and then QR code, and then the O is here. So I have it broken up in like span elements.
Yeah.
And
transitions. Oh, it's just CSS.
It's just CSS.
Yes. Oh, it's so good.
So we went up to here. I hit right. We set all the font size to 0, and then those shrink away. And then I hit right again, and then the clown comes in, and then I hit right again, and we get to the end.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's clever.
Yeah, pretty pleased with myself.
You should be. This is like I said, I put like a little spinner on the stream at the very beginning, and it's like I forgot OBS has a Lua, and so the world is. I am now unstoppable. I have Lua in OBS. Yeah.
I did not. You said you wrote that in a Lua script. I actually didn't realize in what context that you wrote.
No,
wait, Ramsey, press your arrow key. You're not done.
Oh yeah, you got to give us the clown. Thank you. Much better. Yeah, no, OBS has Lua built in. Their whole almost their entire C API is available.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Holy shit. That changes.
Yeah. Changes some things. Yeah. It's a little underdocumented, I'll give them that. But what Lua API is it? It wouldn't be Lua if it was documented.
It's not idiomatic if it's not documented. Yeah, it's even Redis. There's like a lot of things where idiomatically the correct way to solve some problems in Redis is like you do it in Lua.
Yeah.
Because you have to do like 2 things at once, right? And the only way to do that is like with a Lua script.
It's a Lua script. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you, Ramsey.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you all for
thanks
for
everybody who watched. Some people tuned
this
in.
was awesome. Thanks for explaining it.
Yeah,
it's a really cool solution.
It's like you don't always get to do the wacky stuff, but so every now and then it's like, oh, that was wacky, and like for a good reason, maybe.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Great talking.
All right.
Bye, all.
Bye.